Well, good evening, members of the board. I want to thank you for the opportunity to share with you our proposed 2018 tax levy. And what I would like to do this evening is start by providing a basic overview of some tax levy terms to situate our discussion. And then I want to move on to an overview of the tax levy process timeline, as well as some projections about where our anticipated revenue is coming from. And then we will take you through the recommendation for our 2018 tax levy, as well as walk you through the tax levy calculation to arrive at our bottom line. And certainly I will take some questions as we conclude this evening. So I do want to be brief, but I want to start by making sure that we all are understanding some basic vocabulary associated with the tax levy. And the first is the levy. And the levy is the amount that the government is requesting to be raised from property taxes, excluding debt service. That differs from the tax extension, which is the total actual amount that is billed to taxpayers and then collected by the school district. A very important term to understand is EAV, or the equalized assessed value of a property within the district's boundaries. Property is assessed at 1/3 of its market value, and the assessor applies an equalizer or an adjustment factor to equalize the assessed values of local properties after exemptions. CPI is very important for us because we are a tax cap district, and we'll talk about that in just one moment. But the Consumer Price Index is published by the federal government, and it's a measure of the annual inflationary impact on expenditures. As I mentioned, we are a tax-capped district. The Property Tax Extension Limitation Law, or PTEL, limits the annual levy increase to the lower of the prior year's December CPI, or 5%, plus any new property growth within the taxing body's boundaries. And new property is classified as newly developed and initially assessed during the current tax year. This can be the construction of new homes, it can be property that is newly assessed after a significant renovation, or any property associated with an expiring TIF. Here's just a brief overview of the tax cycle timeline. Remember, we start with CPI, and the CPI that we use for the 2018 calculation is based on December 2016 to December 2017. And that CPI rate was 2.1%. Remember that taxes are collected in arrears, so the 2018 levy is collected in 2019 in June and September, and we use those June taxes to fund the following fiscal year. So tax collected in 2019 is revenue for FY 2020. A portion of our district's tax revenue, by far the tax levy is the largest source of 109 revenue. So we do receive some monies from the state and federal governments, but that's a very small slice of the pie. 91% of our revenue is derived from local property tax. And when we look at where that tax revenue comes from, 81% is from residential properties within our taxing boundaries, and 19% is from commercial properties. What do we use these dollars for? Well, 98% of the funds that we collect are used for operating costs, and those are financing the day-to-day operations of the district, education, special education, operations and maintenance of the district. All the 2% slice of the pie is used to pay the principal and interest on bonded debt that has already previously been issued. Now remember, our ask for operating funds is limited by the Property Tax Extension Limitation Law. So without a referendum, the levy for the current year extension is limited to an increase of CPI plus any new growth that is associated with new property that we discussed earlier. So how can EAV change based on, and what is the impact on the tax rate? So if the EAV of a property decreases, we would expect the tax rate to increase. If EAV stays the same, we'd expect tax rate to stay the same. And if EAV increases, we would expect the tax rate to decrease. So for a property owner, they might experience their taxes increasing by more than CPI if some of the following occur. If their property value increases more than average, if their property value decreases less than average, if a large company or retailer leaves town in that commercial slice of the pie, or if a large company appeals to a lower assessment. So our 2018 recommendation, at the time of levy, recall that EAV and new construction are unknown to us. And so because of this, districts overestimate, or they do what's called a balloon levy to ensure that the district captures all dollars that they're entitled to. This is really important because if the district doesn't capture all dollars that it is entitled to, it has a compounding impact on the district's bottom line year over year. But don't confuse what we ask for with what the district will actually receive. So despite overestimating to ensure we capture all available dollars, the district is only going to receive what it asks for up to the tax cap. So our recommendation is to balloon levy to capture that full increase allowable under PTEL. But we discussed with the Finance Committee that we would not levy in debt service and pay our bond principal interest on operating funds so that we could afford taxpayers' break. So we'll walk you through the calculation as we wrap up here. There's some data that's required for that calculation. So we start by looking at the 2017 tax extension. We look at estimated 2018 EAV and estimated new property growth. We've set those in consultation with the assessor. And then we look at that 2017 CPI as of December 31st. And what we introduced previously is that that was 2.1%. Our calculation is a 5-step calculation, and it arrives at a bottom line of roughly $53 million in revenue. But probably most interest is what is the estimated impact on a homeowner within the district boundaries. So what we've done is we've taken a property that had a fair cash value of roughly $500,000 in tax year 2017, and we are estimating a 10% increase in that home value in 2018. And as we move down, we'll see that our total tax rate is going to decrease from slightly over 3% to in the high 2% range. And we estimate that property owner with a home in this range is going to have a dollar increase of about $12 and a percent increase about 0.25. And that's because even though we've increased what we are allowable to collect under PTEL, we are not levying debt service, and so that's affording our taxpayers a break this year. So at this time, I'm happy to take any questions that have been